to the final of the first Tulane International Football Negotiation Competition. Congrats on making it this far. It's really been great seeing everyone compete over the past couple of days. And the board really thanks everyone for their time and commitment that you guys have put forth towards the competition. We also want to thank our judges. You guys' experience and background really make this experience so much more valuable. So thank you to you guys as well. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. If you're not a judge or a competitor, I would ask that you keep yourself muted and turn your cameras off, just so that everyone can focus on the negotiation. And yeah, I know you guys know the rules. You guys have heard them a lot. So I will just remind you that it's 45 minutes. You're gonna get a 15-minute remaining warning, 5 minutes, and 1 minute. And you can't reference any information as of after March 23rd, 2022. Great. So whenever, and our teams are 2 and 7. Team number 2 is representing Villanova, and team number 7 is California Western, number 2, since California Western sent 2 teams. So congratulations to you guys, and I can't wait to watch you guys negotiate. Whenever you're ready, I will start the clock.
Great. Well, first, turn your volume off.
I'm already off.
Okay, sorry about the slight echo there. Well, first, congratulations to Kelly and Alexandra. You know, we're really cool that we both made it here after previously meeting in the prelims, so it's great to see you all again. As you know, I guess to get us started off here, I am Luke, this is Rick next to me, and then across over there we have Kyle. Kyle is not participating today. He is just our third member who's going to be on mute. So if he does any weird reactions, you know, cut him some slack. Again, I'm Luke, this is Rick next to me. We are here representing Frank Kessier as his agent. We are really, really excited to speak with you about this potential opportunity with FC Barcelona. Obviously, Barcelona is one of those clubs that, has had some recent struggles in recent history, but it seems like almost they are back. And I know Frank is excited to potentially come to an agreement with y'all to find his new home in Spain. Not that Italy was bad, but he's excited to potentially look at Spain into the future. And we are just so excited to be conversing with you today.
Thank you for that. We would like to extend our congratulations as well. It's exciting to start with one team and conclude full circle. We would like to briefly introduce ourselves again. My name is Kelly.
And my name is Alex, as you know. And we actually do have an agenda prepared today. Do you all have pen and paper ready to take that down?
Sure thing.
Perfect. Well, to start with our agenda, the first talking point is the sign-on fee.
Okay.
The second talking point is the contract. And within that, a sub-talking point is length, weekly salary, and bonuses. And then our final talking point is the agent brokerage fee.
Great, thank you very much for setting that agenda. And we appreciate that. Definitely we're going to hit on all of those points. And of course, as you both know, as we progress through the conversation, all of these terms are going to have to mix and match quite a bit. So we'll stick to the agenda as best as we can, but as we get further into the conversation, you know, we'll be calling back to previous terms and work from there. So I guess then to start out, since you set the agenda, would you like to start us out with an initial offer?
Well, we actually have some questions for you before we feel comfortable presenting an offer. I'm sure you can understand. So we are very excited for Frank. He seems like an excellent player. We just want to check and make sure in terms of health and injuries that he is still doing okay and that there are no concerns as of now.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yes, Frank is one of those up-and-coming players in the world, 25 years of age, just entering his prime as well. Obviously coming off a very successful season at AC Milan as they are top of the Serie A right now. But yes, especially in his recent seasons, you know, Frank is in tip-top shape. Obviously this last season, he's reaching close to 30 appearances, same over the previous 2 seasons as well. And Frank is just ready to take to the next level of performance in his career. He's just coming into his prime right now, and he wants to spend his prime with the club that he finds to be one of the top in the world and hopefully a place where he can succeed at.
Well, that is so great to hear. We love to hear that he's in tip-top shape. And another question we had was his previous salary with AC Milan. We found that to be $82,000 a week. Is that correct from the information on your end as well?
Let my partner Rick lay that out, but yes, I do have 82,000 per week in euros, if that is the currency we are using here.
Yes, euros works best for us. I'm glad we're able to clear that up, and we won't have to be doing any conversions during this round.
Yes, definitely.
Wonderful. So we're glad that we're on the same page in terms of that. And you are right, some of these points are interconnected and we may have to talk about multiple at once. But for the initial sign-on fee, we are very interested in Frank, as we've said. And at this moment, we can offer $2.5 million.
That fully guaranteed.
Apologies. Yes, euros.
Euros, yes, no problem. We get working with a few different currencies can get a little bit mind-boggling. And just to confirm, there is that 2.5 million euros guaranteed at signing.
Yes, we are able to guarantee that at signing.
Yeah, well, thank you for that initial offer there. I think signing bonus from our end is going to have to relate a ton to the weekly wages and the other guaranteed and non-guaranteed parts of this contract. Initially from our end, I think we were looking around the range of actually 10 million euro signing bonus. And I see we have a large gap in between there. With that 10 million, we would be willing to work with you. Obviously, Barcelona is in some financial difficulty right now. They are just rebuilding. So for the 10 million, we are willing to prorate that. But that, again, would have to depend on the contract term, which would be next on the agenda. And we are proposing a 5-year contract term.
We appreciate that all that information. In regards to the 10 million sign-on fee, that is not something our club at this time can do because of financial fair play rules. As I'm sure you all are aware, because of those constraints, if we do violate them, we would be subject to sanctions. So at this time, that 10 million sign-on number would not be something we could do. Now, is it more important for your client to have a higher sign-on bonus or a higher weekly salary?
We would be looking more towards weekly salary, as Frank is again looking for his new home in Barcelona or wherever he's looking at for a club. And so when it comes down to the guaranteed amount, while it would be great to get a guaranteed amount now on the first day, Frank is more concerned about his everyday living, and we are willing to discuss more about the weekly wages and revisit the signing bonus area.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that information. In light of that, let's move forward to the contract talking point. I know you briefly touched on that in terms of the length. So Frank is looking for a 5-year salary. We understand that he seems to be in excellent condition, and he does seem to be like a very strong player. However, we do see that he is has some weaknesses in terms of emotional discipline. So a 5-year contract length makes us a little hesitant. Do you have any information that could help ease our concerns about his emotional discipline?
I think I just want to clarify, when you mention emotional discipline, do you mean on the field in terms of cards or fouls, things like that, or are you referring to personal emotional distress?
We're more concerned with on the field in regards to how he would work with our fellow members of the club, as well as flags and cards. Sorry.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. I don't think it's any surprise that Frank Hessier has racked up some cards in the past. He is a very durable center mid box to box who that is his play style. He likes to kind of bruise around. He's a big guy who plays a defensive mid role, and it's not uncommon. It's actually sometimes encouraged to be a little more rough and aggressive in his position. And Frank Hessier works hard for the team, plays almost every minute of every game. So I think that's extremely common. And I actually think that Barcelona is missing a player like that. They haven't had one since Javier Mascherano retired years ago. So They are missing a little bit of that competitive edge in the center midfield, and we're hoping that Frank Hessier can fill that gap for you.
We definitely agree in terms of a player of that kind of physicality. That is something our team could use. However, we are just a little concerned with what you mentioned before in terms of the fouls, but we do see this as something that can be worked on through coaching, and we don't see it as a long-term weakness for him, hopefully. However, it does make us a little hesitant to extend a 5-year contract. We are looking at a 3-year contract.
And we appreciate that you're willing to work with Frank. Of course, in his past few years, actually his red card total has not been as high as really anything at all. I mean, he is on average with most other players at that position. His yellow card total, to piggyback on my teammate Rick here, his yellow card total, it, as you just said, it is one of those positions that you need on the field right now at Barcelona. You need that field general who is willing to make that tackle, to stop play, to kind of be that brick wall in the center who can kind of stop those attacks. So while we thank you for offering now a 3-year contract, from our perspective, Frank is 25 years of age. He is just getting into his prime right now. And frankly, he wants to be in a place where he can call home for a few years. And so at his age especially, 3 years is quite short. And in fact, we'd be more interested to hear why you would like to have that shorter contract length.
Well, as we mentioned, there's just the concern of his aggressiveness on the pitch and how that could affect Barcelona, as well as his meshing with the potential team. But we do understand he is looking for a longer contract. So what we could do is do that 3-year guaranteed with an additional 2 years that are optional.
Whose option would that be?
We can do it at the option of the team and the player. So both will have a say in whether or not this contract will be extended.
Well, we appreciate you adding in those 2 years on a different optional basis. I think for Frank's security right now, we don't want to really agree to a 3-year guaranteed at this time without discussing the other terms. I guess at this point in time, before we even think about adding in options, we'd like to keep it at the 5-year and discuss what the weekly wage structure would look like.
All right, well then moving into that weekly wage structure, our understanding is that he was making $82,000 a week with AC Milan. And we are prepared to up that amount to properly compensate him for coming on to FC Barcelona. And what we are prepared to offer is 120,000 euros a week.
Thank you for that. I'd love to hear more of kind of that escalation from 82 to 120. How are you basing that number? Is that based on external comparable players that you think Frank relates to? Is that internal? I mean, I'd love to just hear a little more of how you arrived to that number.
Well, we did look at some players who are also up for free transfer, and he's a great player. He's no Paul Pogba, so we can't pay quite those numbers. And in terms of looking at the player that he is going to replace, they simply are not comparable players. The age difference, and also the Sergio Busquets, who we are hoping that Frank Hessier can replace. He is this figure who has been with the team for so long, and we don't think comparing him is anywhere fair. But we actually came up with this number because of our strong desire to secure Frank. We saw his previous salary of 82,000 euros per week. And that's why we confirmed with you at the beginning. We wanted to give him a substantial increase to really show the value we feel he will bring.
Yeah, and we appreciate your comparisons there. Frankly, from our perspective, to compare Frank to Pogba is maybe not too fair, especially if you're bringing up discipline issues in the past. Pogba, he's coming out every now and then and saying off the field, maybe he doesn't want to be at United anymore. And Pogba is also one of those players who's not as consistent, especially when it comes to injury history. whereas Franck consistently plays. And so we're not sure if that's maybe the best comparison to use here, but we appreciate you actually shedding some light on the subject of who Franck is coming in to replace. I think that does help us out a lot as we're progressing in these talks, understanding where he fits in Barcelona's formation. Obviously a 4-3-3 right now, very attacking and emphasized. Busquets is one of those players who sits in that number 6 role, which is we agree with you. He is a legend at Barcelona. I mean, he was there when Xavi was playing. And so that does say quite a bit about why Franck is coming in to replace that player. But frankly, when it comes down to replacing that image, I don't think that's Franck's problem to come in and change that. Any free transfer you get from another team to come in and all of a sudden be that person on the field to make up for Busquets' image, I don't believe that's Franck's problem right off the bat, whereas that image transfer would likely go to one of those other co-captains, Sergio Roberto, Jordi Alba, Gerard Piqué. Even Ter Stegen in goal would possibly make up for that image lack. And so I'm not sure we agree with you in that valuation of saying he's coming in to replace that. In fact, our valuation, we'll go ahead and kind of show you where we're coming from. We compared Franck to Frenkie de Jong, currently on Barcelona, of course. Frenkie is a little bit more attacking focused, but by and large, their statistics over the past few seasons, of course, Frenkie being at Barcelona and Franck Kessié being at AC Milan, are really the same. In fact, Franck Kessié has a few more attacking contributions than Frenkie de Jong does. Now, granted, there's different situations that come into play. For example, Barcelona haven't been the best team in the world for the last two years, whereas AC Milan has finally been building up to that level. But now that Barcelona is ready to be at that level, we understand there's a slight discount there. And so Frenkie de Jong currently makes 195,000 euros per week. And with the similar attacking and minute statistics, starting statistics, everything along those lines, we actually value that Franck is higher up, closer to a 185,000 per week. And again, we're taking in a slight discount there because Frenkie has been with Barcelona for a while, but Franck's statistics speak for themselves. And if he's going to be coming in to make that type of impact, he should be paid as pretty close to the player who is already making a similar impact.
Thank you for your explanation. We do want to clarify something in our evaluation. We apologize that there was a misunderstanding on your part. We were not saying he was going to take over the image of Sergio Busquets. That would not be possible. We are saying he is not comparable. So I think we're on the same page in terms of that. And in terms of your other point for Frenkie de Jong, we do see that he is a very great player, but we see them as different players. We see him as someone that Franck will play very, very well with, but he is going to be helping us off down the defensive end, and Frenkie de Jong will be able to use those skills to do some of those more attacking plays. So we see them as a great joint package, but making them equal is not quite a correct evaluation in our eyes.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think Kessié would be very happy to play alongside Frenkie. So we're definitely moving in the right direction. But I think, what we're really trying to understand is how Franck fits into your wage structure, right? If we just look at Busquets and he's coming in and to play his defensive role and take over for Sergio. Sergio is making over 270,000 euros right now, and so we understand that he is a club legend and he's not going to come near that number. We're not suggesting that. What we're suggesting is that if Franck is expected to come in, play a starting role, and replace a club legend, then things like image and likeness, yes, they will transfer to younger players, but his playing ability and importance to the team should be similar to Frenkie de Jong. And so we feel that I believe it was the 120,000 that you offered originally is way undervalued, especially if he's to play alongside Frenkie de Jong. What we don't want to do is get into a situation where there's a locker room rift where Franck Kessié now is upset playing because players that are similar to him are making grossly a lot more than him. So I think really trying to ground him in Frankie, like you mentioned, they're very similar. They're going to be playing alongside each other. And from a defensive role on AC Milan, Kessié has scored many goals more than Frankie de Jong has had at Barcelona. So we really see them as extremely similar, and that's why our offer was the 185,000 per week. And really, we're just looking for some clarity as to why Frank doesn't deserve that number that is extremely close to Frankie de Jong, but to your point, not exactly at the same amount.
Yes, and we do appreciate the 185,000 number you offered. And again, to let you know, the reason we're not offering higher is simply because we have to look at this deal holistically. And as we have stated, the club has to deal with the financial fair play rules. And to try and bridge that gap and meet you all in the middle somewhere, we could potentially offer 135,000 weekly.
And what term of contract is that?
We still have not decided on a term of contract. We know we just moved forward. However, we still feel uncomfortable with the 5-year length, especially with this extremely high number in our view and in our club's financial view. We do not feel comfortable agreeing to the 5-year length. So right now we are just simply discussing the weekly salary.
We appreciate that, and thank you for the clarity there. Financial fair play is an issue for everyone, especially Manchester City and Paris Saint-Germain, right? That is something that all clubs have to deal with, and it is something that, however, is the club's issue and not the player's issue. And so, while we are very eager to join Barcelona, we just want to make sure Frank is compensated at where he is skilled.
And if he's expected to come in and replace Sergio Busquets, clearly Busquets is over 250,000 euros would be off the books. So, we think that he fits in well into the structure at the 185. We do appreciate the movement from y'all.
I guess to help with the movement on our end as well. We recognize that you have come up quite a bit, and we appreciate that. I think this term for us is very interrelated to contract length as well as it is signing bonus. It is, especially from a holistic view, all these terms go together and all the levers pull on each other one at a time. And so it's hard to go one by one discussing these. However, we are prepared to go kind of discuss contract length and weekly wage in the same conversation here. And so recognizing that, obviously, you all need some flexibility on the financial end, which is totally understood, especially as you grow. However, Frank wants to find a home wherever he goes to his next team. And so what we're willing to do is drop down to 175,000 per week, but we need the contract length to stay at 5 years.
Thank you for that. We acknowledge that movement. However, that is still high. We definitely could be willing to go to a 5-year contract. However, as we mentioned, the financial fair play rules come into play. And I know you said that's the club's problem and not the players, but we have some very strict numbers and some very strict rules that we have been given from our client, and we simply would not be able to go that high if we were to do a 5-year contract. Now, we understand he wants a home. We would be willing to provide him that home with a 5-year contract. We would need a lower weekly salary if we were to do so.
And we could look somewhere around 145,000 for that 5-year contract. And to give you a better number of what that would be overall with that 5-year contract, when looking at it for 5 years, he would be making 37.7 million in that 5-year contract.
And thank you for that clarity there. That helps us out a ton, especially the quick math at the end. We appreciate that. Yes, financial fair play is part of every European team's budget right now, and it is it is a huge amount to consider. However, we understand that Barcelona, another part of their financial difficulties is also maybe just their budget is a little bit constrained in general. They haven't been overflowing with cash in the few recent years. In fact, they just had to sell their stadium naming rights over the last 4 years to Spotify, right? And so it is one of those situations where Barcelona is a little bit strapped for cash, and we understand that. What we're willing to do in order to accommodate a higher wage structure is drop 1 year off the contract. And so we'd be willing to do 4 years, still at the 175,000 per year.
Thank you for that movement. We acknowledge that, but 175 is still too high for us to go right now. We see that we are rather stagnant, and we think that it would be a good time for us to take a 1-minute break.
We'd appreciate the time too. Yeah, this sounds okay.
Thank you.
I have paused the clock and 1 minute. Should be getting the notification.
Thank you so much for allowing us that break. And as we stated, we do see we're a little stagnant on this weekly salary number. And we did want to confirm with you, in doing this 4-year deal at 175,000 euros weekly, you realize you're getting your client a lower deal of 36.4 million for the 4 years, whereas the number we're offering, the 145,000 at 5 years, would provide him with a 37.7 million deal.
Yeah, we are clear of that, and we also clear that there are a couple other terms in play here, including that signing bonus and, of course, the agent brokerage fee, the performance bonuses as well. And so we are willing to have some movement on that area as long as we make up for it in the back half on those other guaranteed terms.
Perfect. Then let's go ahead and move into those bonuses.
Okay.
Now,
so again, we'll let you start. Go ahead.
Thank you. One of the first bonuses we were looking at was the goals attributed to bonus.
We would, I'm sorry not to interject here. We would actually like to stay on the guaranteed euro amounts here, that being signing bonus right now. Because signing bonus as a guaranteed amount seems more relevant to the weekly wage structure, especially over time. That would be the guaranteed amount that Barcelona is paying over time. So I think it's clear for both parties here to understand that guaranteed money being paid out, and then we'll bring in the incentives based off of how that ends up, if that is okay with you.
We respect your priorities, and we can move to signing bonus. We do see that we have a huge gap, so we were hoping to have some agreement to help spur the conversation forward. Currently, we have a gap of 7.5 million. Our last offer was for 2.5 million for a signing bonus, and you countered at 10 million, which is something we cannot do. Is there any other number that your client would be willing to accept?
You know, we are willing to drop down to 8.5 million right off the bat in signing fee. That of course would be paid all in at once at signing. And, you know, I guess we'll start it there, and then you all know how this works now with the other contract terms.
Of course. And that, again, that 8.5 million euro number upfront is not something Barcelona can do at this time due to the constraints we have with the financial fair play rules. We appreciate the movement, however, and we're willing to increase our 2.5 million offer to 4.5 million.
Is that guaranteed at signing? Sorry, am I asking?
No, it would depend simply on the other terms that we are discussing. So right now, the salary is rather high. So if we are able to lower that salary, we could potentially guarantee this at signing.
We appreciate that 4.5, but since we did knock that year off the contract, and as you mentioned, that is a lower contract value, we are looking to make that up in the other guaranteed areas, that being signing bonus. And so again, we understand that Barcelona is struggling right now when it comes to especially paying out money initially. We would be willing to actually do a signing bonus structure in this case. And so we'd be willing to drop it down to 8 million as a signing bonus, prorated 2 years over the next, 2 million each year over the next 4 years.
And we do appreciate that. However, again, that's still out of our authorization at the table today. Now, understanding the situation Barcelona is in, we would like to pay Frank this money up front. However, we would need to get within our ranges to even provide a payment plan or an upfront payment. Understanding that 8 million is too high, can you help us figure out what your client needs to move forward with this deal? We do really want to work with him in Barcelona.
Yeah, so Frank is in his career right now. He's 25 years of age. He's already proved himself. He's not like the younger players in the world who are still up and coming and have to prove themselves in the top leagues of the world. You have Frank Kessié, who's coming from AC Milan, currently the top team at the Serie A table, who has a few years of top 5 league experience under his belt. And so now that he is in his prime, he's ready to make his next and his big move, likely the biggest move in his career, and he is ready to get paid. And so that's why our emphasis here is on that guaranteed money, because Frank wants to make sure, yes, he finds a great club to play at, but his services are also valued at where he values his services.
We understand that. To better present our question to you, we're asking, can your client go lower than the 8 million euros that you've offered on the table?
I think this is again just a question of the entire holistic package, right? So yes, there is movement on the 8 million, but there must also be movement on the wage structure that better benefits our clients. I think one of the things we're dancing around are Barcelona's current financial issues, and given that Frank is excited to possibly join Barcelona, we want to do what we can to help Barcelona out at the moment. We do know the influx of cash that is coming in from Spotify. There will no doubt be other deals. Barcelona's on the verge of qualifying for Champions League again for next year, so there will be an influx of cash there, and other sponsors that will no doubt come in. So one of the things that we're looking at, a creative way of kind of structuring this contract in the best interest of Barcelona and the best interest of our client. I want to turn quickly again to the wage structure, and we can kind of balance these two and kind of move the levers that work the best. So one of the things that we're proposing is, again, a 4-year contract. We will meet your 145,000 for the first year. After that, Kessié will be paid 155 in the second year, 170 in the third, and 180 in the fourth. That means that in the fourth year, he will still be paid less than what Frankie de Jong is being paid currently. So we are kind of trying to quell your concerns about financial difficulties at the moment, knowing that there's an influx of cash coming in. But we will still require that 8 million, although we can work on that 8 million being also spread out over time. That way your concerns about financial fair play are no longer kind of an issue.
We do really appreciate this creative solution. The wages could be something we could work with. However, we feel that you're not hearing us on this signing bonus. We cannot do 8 million, rather, whether it is spread out or in one payment, we cannot do 8 million. We cannot meet it. That will not be possible. So we need some flexibility there. In terms of the wages you presented, we may be able to work with this. However, this signing bonus is going to be a huge issue.
Yeah, and I think that's, I understand the financial concerns even spread out over time. But I think maybe the understanding from your side has to be that's the value that Frank wants. How you kind of can make up for that in other areas, we'd love to hear, whether that's now in performance bonuses, now that we're talking about it, or in that kind of maybe even a higher contract and weekly wages longer term, because that is the guaranteed money that we're seeking. But I think we've come with a very creative solution, and I'm kind of looking to you all for another creative solution on how Frank can get that value in other ways.
Well, as you mentioned, what we can move on to discussing is those performance bonuses. And if you all are amenable to that, we can look at what agreements we can come there to increase the value of this contract for Frank.
Sure thing, that works.
Now turning to the performance bonuses, the first one we had was the goals attributed bonus. Now we're defining that as every 10 goals that he scores, he would get a bonus. And the bonus we're looking at currently is $15,000.
Sorry, I just want to clarify, is that goals that he scores or goals and assists combined?
I believe my partner did say goals, that it would just be goals that he scores.
Gotcha. Just goals attributed to is, a little iffy. So I just wanted to make sure that that was good.
And, we appreciate that right off the bat. We would want any performance bonus related to goals to be goal contributions being goals plus assists. And including that, you have recently said that Frank Cassier is coming in to be kind of a replacement to Busquets, not necessarily as the image there, but he's coming in to play alongside Frankie de Jong, probably Gavi, of course, Pedri's in the midfield as well. But that reasoning there seems to say that Frank Cassier is going to be more defensive. And so any incentive of up to 10 goals, just goals scored, seems not great from our perspective, especially if Frank is going to be more defensive. And so what we'd like to do instead is make that 10 goals plus assists. And for every 10 goals plus assists, we'd actually like to have that up at 25,000 per 10 goals plus assists. And that again is keeping in mind that according to all of you, Frank is coming in to be the defensive player. Yes, he has had those attacking statistics in recent seasons. However, AC Milan plays a different system than FC Barcelona. And of course, with FC Barcelona's various attacking options, there is more opportunity for Frank to have those, especially on the assist tally, when he's assisting up to Aubameyang, Torres, any of their attacking players up there. It is a lot more achievable for him if it is goals plus assists.
Well, thank you for that information. We do want to secure Frank for our team, and we appreciate that you have been understanding about our financial situation. So in terms of this bonus, that is something we will be able to accept. So 25,000 for every 10 goals that he either scores or directly assists.
We appreciate that flexibility there, and it's great to start making some groundwork on at least some of these terms. To move into another performance bonus, if it's okay for us to bring them up, we'd like to make another bonus for appearances during the season, and that's going to be appearances, whether it's domestic league or not Carabao Cup, whether it's going to be domestic league, Copa del Rey, Champions League, Europa League, whatever it is, appearances per season. So we'd like it to be for every 20 appearances per season, we'd like to receive 20,000 euros for each of those 20 appearances.
So to be upfront, our client hasn't authorized us to give any appearance bonuses. However, we do have other bonuses we can provide to him in lieu of those. Is that something your client is requiring to move forward with this contract?
It is not required, but it is one of those bonuses that Frank was a little adamant about. And so we are, I guess, interested to see what these other bonuses you had in mind are.
Of course. So we do have a potential bonus for if the team qualifies for the semifinals in the Champions League, a bonus if the team wins the Champions League, and a bonus for if they win La Liga.
And what would those monetary amounts be?
So for the monetary amounts, it does vary on each of those. So which would you like to start with?
First, I think we should start with UCL semifinal qualification. And in fact, doing it as a UCL semifinal qualification in the upcoming season is not as realistic to our side, especially, of course, Barcelona's in Europa League right now, and they are looking like one of the better teams in Europe. But to make it to the semifinals requires beating some teams of top quality, which Barcelona is, but I don't know if they're ready for that, and especially in the upcoming season. And so what we'd like to change that to is qualification for the UEFA Champions League knockout rounds instead. So that's making it past the group stage.
Again, our client has been very strict on what kind of bonuses we can agree to, and that is not within our authority. We are allowed to offer this qualifying semifinal, the winning the champions, and the La Liga bonus. What does your client require for these bonuses? We want to make sure he's getting everything he needs, but we do have restraints on our end.
And I think that's great. And I understand that there's some restrictions from your client, but it just feels like there's a lot of restrictions in the signing bonus, a lot of restrictions in the performance bonuses. And really what we're trying to find here is a balance instead of just, no, we can't do this. So really what we're looking for is, I understand if these are completely, performance bonuses that you cannot hit, but Frank needs to see his value. And so if you all want to provide that, then in the signing bonus, that's perfectly okay with us. But either way, he's not getting the value that he's looking for.
Yeah, and we recognize that. Look, the semi bonus is great, winning the UCL is great, and winning La Liga is great. None of those are guaranteed, especially in the upcoming seasons, especially with the talent that's across Europe and in La Liga as well. And so if we're willing to go so high, and if you're so ready to be restrictive on these incentives here, well, I guess we're struggling to find any mobility in the contract in general to where we could come to this agreeable space. And especially, making it to the knockouts is just 2 rounds before the semis. And that seems more something that's more achievable for Franck Hessier, whereas making it to the semis, that's not necessarily guaranteed. So I guess we'd like a little bit more clarity around why there isn't any flexibility on those types of performance bonuses.
Well, as we stated, these are the restrictions we were given by our clients, so it's not necessarily something that's within our purview. However, we haven't discussed these amounts at all. We just wanted to clarify that he's not looking for any specific bonus we can't provide in order to make this contract, because it would make no sense to go through all of these offer numbers, and at the end, he requires some additional bonus that we have no authority to give.
I think maybe at this time, then it makes more sense to go back to the guaranteed money. I mean, I think with some of these performances, they have to be within the realm of really possibility for what Barcelona are looking to do next season. They didn't even qualify for the Champions League this season. So to talk about winning and going to the semifinals just seems a little far out there when the other performance bonuses that we're proposing are a little more realistic for Barcelona for next year. So, I think at this time, maybe we go back to that initial signing fee. We have agreed to the 25,000 goals and assists. I think I'd be curious to hear your reaction to that in lieu of the signing bonus, and maybe can make up some value there compared to your last offer.
So we do think that these bonuses have value. Our team has won La Liga 26 times, but we do understand where you're coming from. However, we can return to the signing bonus, but we feel like we're going in circles. I know you feel that we are inflexible, but we feel that these numbers are very overinflated. We were given very strict guidelines. We feel that they are more than generous given his previous salaries. And so these extremely high numbers are very surprising to us. And due to the financial constraints, ultimately, what you're offering, we cannot meet. And while we would love to have Franck Hessier on the team, our financial situation is going to be the priority if these are going to be the numbers you look at. So we can return again to the signing bonus and see if we can come to some productive agreement here.
Sure, and I obviously we understand the restrictions. I think what we're struggling to think about a little bit is that we've created a very creative way for the actual wage structure in order to make it work for your team, and we want to return to the signing bonus because that is the guaranteed money, and whether there is a creative way that you all can structure that so that we are still getting our value, but the impact is not right up front, right? Because there are strict restrictions, but there has to be a way to work around those in order to make this in order to make this deal happen. So just kind of eager to hear what else you all can offer from a signing bonus perspective, whether it's upfront, whether it's over the course of years, whether it's now, whether it's later. What are the options that we have on the table from Barcelona?
Yes, well, for the creative wage structure you provided, we really appreciate that. And those, again, are numbers we can work with. That signing bonus, we aren't going to make it work no matter how creatively we structure it. There is no way. So I know the last offer we provided was $4.5 million. And that is very high for us. That is on almost the highest end of what we are able to offer. We know that you don't see this as his value. We see this as almost the maximum of what we can pay. So in light of that information, we would be willing to increase that up to 4.75 million.
And again, we appreciate that mobility, and we are doing our best to find some middle ground between the two of us. You know, when it comes to comparing Frank's salary to previous years, that's from a previous contract, and he's now entering his prime, and he's looking at, of course, other teams across Europe as well. And so, of course, this is a free transfer already as well. So Barcelona is saving some substantial money there. They're not buying Kessié. One of the last transfers Barcelona had to deal with in this type of position, actually a couple of years ago, was with Miralem Pjanic, who went to Juventus. Of course, that was kind of included in the swap deal with Artur. Pjanic came from Juve, and Artur went to Juventus, and that was close to a 60 million euro fee at that time. And so, given Frank's value, at least, is where he is now, especially compared to Pjanic back then. Frank is saving any club a ton of money on the transfer fee right now, and there are other clubs interested in him. And so we are looking for that mobility and that value. We do appreciate you coming up to 4.75. Of course, we're assuming at this point that's guaranteed all at the signing. But it is because that is guaranteed all at the signing that we think there could be a creative solution to spreading money out over future years if it's a little bit more, especially if Barcelona, if y'all are thinking that they are going to be so successful, they will be able to pay some of that future money. And so I guess on the signing bonus side, we're willing to come down to 7 million. And we're even willing to prorate that 50% this year, and then we'll spread it out evenly over the rest 4 years of his contract. So I guess that's 12.5% per year over the next 4 years, as long as that's 50% guaranteed this year, which actually is less than the guaranteed signing bonus that you're promising right now, at least at signing. And then we do get that future guaranteed money in the future.
What we're actually thinking of right now is taking a break. Just to let you know, the 7 million is still a number we cannot do. We just take a brief break, put together a global offer for you, including those bonuses, so you can get the full idea of the value of the contract. And then that last 2 minutes, we can discuss whether or not that's something that's acceptable for your client.
We'd appreciate that. Thank you.
I will make that breakout room for 1 minute, and you should be getting it.
Thank you so much for allowing us that break. Now, we do have a global offer to present you to get you a better idea of the full value of the contract. For a sign-on fee, we would remain at that 4.75 million euros, and that could be paid up front. We've previously agreed to that tiered payment structure for the 4-year contract, and that was 145 the first year, 155 the second year, 170 the third year, and 180 the fourth year. For the qualifying for semifinals bonus, we would be willing to pay 90,000 euros for that. For winning the Champions League, that would be 1.25 million euros we'd be willing to pay your client. And for La Liga, we would be willing to pay a bonus of $300,000. And speaking on this agent brokerage fee, I know we haven't touched on it a whole lot. We would be willing to pay 5 million euros for that.
Yeah. Thank you. I think, we really appreciate y'all taking some time and putting this together. Frankly, I think we're still pretty far apart. I think one of the the main benefits of this to Barcelona are that they don't have to pay another club a dime. And so you're saving a ton of money. We gave the example of Pjanic at 54 million, but then your offer to us is 4.75 of a signing bonus and 5 million for the broker fee. I mean, that compared to, we've created a very creative structure for the actual wages. And it feels like that was the only point that we agreed upon. And that was kind of us trying to be as creative as possible. So we're just really not seeing the creativity for guaranteed money from your side. And, despite getting really a steal in Frank Hessier as a free agent. So I think we really appreciate your time today. And it just doesn't look like that we're going to strike a deal. And we may need to turn to other suitors, maybe even within the same league. So we really appreciate it, but I just don't think this is going to work out.
We completely understand. We appreciate you all meeting us here today, and we will actually draft this up and send this over if you would like to show your client.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you so much.
Best wishes.
Perfect, guys. Great job. You finished right on time. So it was great seeing you guys negotiate. We're going to do it a little bit differently this time since we've got some other people in the room. Y'all are going to go to your breakout rooms. I'm going to send the judges to a breakout room, and the board is going to go to a breakout room. And then we'll all reconvene when we're ready to announce the winner. So congrats on everybody to everyone that competed. Again, thank you to all our judges. We really appreciate all your help this weekend and all the teams that participated, really dedicating the time to make this a great event. And so, yeah, without further ado, I'll announce our winners. Our best brief goes to Villanova, so congrats. Best presentation also goes to Villanova, congratulations. And then the first place team for the inaugural Tulane International Football Negotiation Competition is Villanova. So congrats, guys. So thanks you guys for everybody for making this such a great event. We hope to see you next year in New Orleans when we host this competition in person.